All right, welcome to our webinar, Unlocking Mobile Partnerships, Bringing Performance to the Fastest Growing Channel. Have both introduce ourselves here. So I get the right thing going. My name is Bob Glazer. I'm the founder and CEO of Acceleration Partners. Acceleration Partners is the largest independent affiliate and partner marketing firm in the world, and we're privileged to partner with a lot of really leading brands to help them launch, grow, and improve their affiliate and partner marketing programs. And I'll pass it off to Dan to introduce himself.
Hey everybody, I'm Dan Koch, CTO of Tune. For those of you who aren't familiar with Tune, we build the Tune Partner Marketing Platform, formerly known as Has Offers. And what that is it's the industry's most flexible SaaS platform for managing your marketing partnerships across mobile and web. So if you're a partner marketer and you're looking to manage your relationships, that's what we do. And the reason why we're so excited to be here with Bob and with Acceleration Partners is we've been in the mobile world since there was a mobile world to be in for the last 10 years. We actually helped build the technology that first made it possible to do performance marketing on mobile, the cost per install ad. And so, we've seen it over the years. We kind of stand astride both worlds of partner marketing and mobile. Really excited to share this with you, and we're really excited to be here with Bob and Acceleration Partners as well.
Great. So we're going to start off with a question, one that we hear a lot, which is, am I leaving money on the table? And I probably more specifically talk a little bit about where you're leaving the most money on the table.
Right. So if there's anything we want people to take away from this webinar, it's this. Can you do affiliate marketing on mobile apps? The answer is yes. Can you do performance marketing on mobile apps? Yes. Can you do partner marketing on mobile apps? Yes. Call it whatever you want to. You can do it today. So in short, the answer is yes. You are leaving money on the table if you're not doing these things today. And the good news is you can do these things today. You almost certainly can. The tools, the technology, the basis for doing this, including the partnerships, is all likely available for you right now. And that's what we're going to dive into.
Great. So let's dig right into the opportunity and talk a little bit about the evolution of mobile partnerships. So 5 years ago, when I was still kind of writing my book and looking at the industry, mobile was really the Achilles heel for the affiliate industry. Tracking was limited, difficult to pay and buy. Conversion was pretty painful. And the only people who were doing well in sort of that early mobile performance world that we saw was those that had an installed app base with stored payment. People like Amazon and eBay and Zulily. It really was not a strong acquisition tool. Fast forward 5 years, and it's a really different story now. You've got a host of new powerful tracking technologies and enabling tools really powering the mobile ecosystem. The ease of payments, what now was a crutch with mobile wallets and Apple Pay and Android Pay, and using your face or using your finger and paying quickly is now really an asset and makes it easier to pay than on desktop. You have far better improved user experiences, and you'll hear this theme a lot, particularly when we talk about mobile, but better fraud controls and more option than before for that.
Right, and building on that point, as Bob mentioned, there's been great strides in making mobile a better and better channel for performance marketing. And as this Mary Meeker slide here is suggesting, that means that there's a gap where even more spending is going to be moving towards mobile here in the very near future. So mobile's been growing like wildfire, and even so, it's still underspent on when it comes to where marketing budgets are, because people are spending more time on mobile than matches the actual amount of marketing revenue that goes onto it. And again, there's just a lot of opportunity that's left there as a gap when it comes to finding good supply there.
And as people continue to spend more time on their devices, brands are seeing this gap. Customer acquisition is costly. It's probably the biggest cost for most marketing departments, and brands and retailers are probably paying a lot more than they should to acquire new customers. Something that's also just not, everyone knows it, but I think not talked about as much. And one of the biggest drivers of the partner marketing space right now is that the Google Facebook duopoly controls more than half of the digital ad market, almost 57.7% in 2019. And it's an auction-based market. So the more people that come into it, I haven't heard anyone say prices are going down. So the more the market keeps moving up and the more the prices move up, it really stretches that ROI for everyone involved.
Right, and so this comes back to the question around, great, all right, we understand that mobile is an opportunity, but is it possible to do partner marketing or performance marketing on mobile? Does it actually work in that space? And again, the answer is emphatically yes. And the reason why we know that to be true is because we had a front row seat for it. Because there's tremendous spending on partner marketing happening in mobile today. So just to call out some giant numbers around that, there was $38 billion spent on mobile app installs in 2018, and that's likely to go to $64 billion in 2020. This is from a study done by AppsFlyer, one of the mobile measurement companies. These numbers are real. I mean, even the companies just involved in actually measuring this performance are worth more than $250 million. Through our own mobile customers annually, we're measuring about $8 billion in performance mobile spend. As a matter of fact, even just in the 6 minutes since this call actually got going, if you reckon out the numbers, there's $1 million spent on partner and performance marketing on mobile. So it is happening today. A lot of it's under the form of app install ads, but it works just as well for any kind of partner marketing you want to do in mobile. And we know that because we see the numbers, we see the sums going through, and you can use it too.
Awesome. Sorry for the jumping around there. When people ask a question, my mouse moves, so I had to realign it. I will throw out, you can add questions anytime here, and we'll get to the Q&A at the end. You can just use the Q&A button in the panel. I will just wait to look at it so it doesn't move the cursor. So the shift is largely driven by, look, the tools are better, but there's also really a purchasing behavior shift and how people want to buy and towards apps. So US shoppers are clearly showing a preference for mobile app versus web. The tap and pay with a finger is making it easier, those integrated experiences. And there's even some stuff coming out now in some companies. There's a real push towards purchase without leaving the publisher site, and being on one app and having an experience where you're connected to the other app or the site without having to leave. All of that's just bringing the conversion a little bit closer to the front, and it's a better user experience, which then surprisingly is leading to higher conversions. We're also seeing a lot more, native app-to-app integrations, opening new types of partnerships. A lot of the Gen 1 marketing in mobile, the pop-unders, the takeovers, it's slowly being replaced by advertising that is more partner-driven and at the same time is a better user experience. So it's just a better win-win all around. Here's an example Criteo showed of, you can see a caviar button right in Foursquare, and you're deep linked into the same restaurant right in the caviar app. So these are strong user experiences. Also coupons. Everyone loves them, everyone hates them, but what they can't deny is that the numbers are pretty big. So coupons have made a pretty big shift to mobile. I think we're in a little bit of Coupon 2.0 right now, which is actually bringing brands and retailers closer to what they wanted to do, and that's drive people to the store, use segmentation such as geodata or otherwise, not just serving expired coupons with clickbait. So I think a lot of brands who were sort of turned off by the desktop coupon model, I think as they get a lot into this kind of smarter Coupon 2.0 model, are realizing that there's some good opportunity for them. So if you look at what you can do on segmentation as you go through user experiences, offers can be presented dynamically. Marketers have powerful segmentation data, and there's a lot of data from the phone itself that starts to tell the brand about the user, both what kind of phone they're using, where they are, how they're interacting with it, just creating new marketing opportunities. Some of the ways that where personalization really meets intent on mobile is, again, geo-targeting, time of day. We had a merchant we talked to in the meal delivery service that was using weather. So think about, you step off the train in the city and it's pouring rain. Well, that's a great time to target something around having your meal delivered home that night. Also, new versus repeat. And push notifications are one of the best tools in mobile marketing and really can be combined with a lot of the personalization above.
Right. And one of the unique things about mobile, it's been very easy to think about mobile as a silo. Teams have their mobile marketing teams or their mobile team as opposed to their email team and their social team. But what mobile really is it's an amalgam of the best of marketing. Like any way in which you can market and market effectively is all integrated in the most effective possible way through the device we have in our pocket. And that includes, of course, social media, which is a huge driver of mobile usage. Email, I'm sure for everyone who's on the line, what's the first thing you do in the morning is you check your email on your phone as you get up. I know that's certainly what I do. The actual mobile app usage itself, which is astronomical, mobile web, social share, search, all of these things, content, are all put together in this really compelling form factor where people spend an ever increasing amount of their time. That trend just hasn't stopped in the last 10 years. It's always up and to the right in terms of the amount of time people spend on their phones. And that's where people are. And it's this melding of all of the different disciplines of effective marketing, and especially partner marketing, that come together in one really effective place. So then that brings the question, which is, what is the hang-up? Why is it that there hasn't been as effective use of this for the partner channel, and why aren't people in this now when they could be, when they know that they're leaving this opportunity and this growth potential out on the table? And so there's a few different reasons, one of which is it's because of the ways we think about ourselves and that we're structured. So, we've seen this up close and personal at Tune because, historically we've been in both the mobile world and in the partner marketing world. And even though these two areas are doing basically the same thing, I shouldn't say basically the same thing, they're doing many of the same fundamental things. The language is different, the teams are different. There's a kind of organizational barrier that prevents these two areas from realizing that what they're doing is very well aligned. It can be built on the same technology platforms to be more effective together. And so to give you some kind of personal examples around that, Tune, of course, we were down at Mobile Apps Unlocked just a couple of weeks ago, the big mobile growth conference, in talking with more and more people, these are folks who have spent, those billions of dollars that we've talked about that are already in the performance marketing space, driving app installs and driving mobile growth. And there's so many conversations I had with these mobile marketers where, they had use cases that are well aligned with what we traditionally think of as partner marketing, looking for these great partnerships and driving performance. It's just a matter of getting the language to align, to realize that, hey, what we are doing is partner marketing. It is exactly the sorts of things we're talking about. And the same is true in reverse for partner marketing. When we talk about, what's possible in mobile apps and how to drive that growth, in a lot of cases, there isn't the realization that there's billions of dollars already being spent there today, that is all there being used and happening. And so much of it is just language and terminology, which means that for those of you who are on the line right now and want to tie in this opportunity, which you really should, you're in the right place, because we're going to talk about how to get this language aligned and how this all comes together. The other thing, of course, that's so important around this, as Bob has already touched on, is the technology involved. So, again, partner marketing and performance marketing are really dependent on being able to effectively connect the dots, to be able to say that, yes, you as a partner drove me this growth, this conversion, this purchase, this download, this sign up, this thing that is of value to my business. And without great tracking, partner marketing just doesn't work as well as it needs to. And of course, we've seen that historically on mobile, challenges around tracking. But of course, there have been tremendous leaps in technology to do tracking effectively on mobile. As a matter of fact, more effectively and more reliably than traditionally happens on web to web. So again, I've mentioned this a couple of times, but the mobile measurement partners, there are 5 very sophisticated, mature, reliable mobile measurement partners that are out there. And again, just to name them off quickly, you've got AppsFlyer, Adjust, Branch, Kuchava, and Singular, all of whom have mature products they've been building on top of, that have been, buying and building the best possible, most reliable ways to track. And that is what opens up this whole world and allows for new tracking to stop penalizing mobile marketers, to make mobile marketers even more effective than the web-only world. The other thing that I know has been a traditional concern, and again, we've seen this up close and personal, is concern over fraud, and especially fraud within the mobile world. There's this perception that fraud happens disproportionately on mobile for a number of different reasons. And it's reflected in some of the statistics that we're looking at here, where from our own measure, 23% of ad networks are more than 20% synthesized clicks. And that concern is reflected throughout the marketing space. As we can see, what are the concerns facing in-app advertising according to those marketers? Well, ad fraud was number one, as you can see in the chart to the right. And so if we go to the next slide, we see some of the specifics behind why there are concerns around mobile ad fraud. We see the articles about the Baidu apps that were kicked out with more than a billion app installs that were performing click stuffing, and Google evicting folks from or evicting SDKs and apps with those SDKs from the App Store, for doing various things within mobile. And there's a couple of things that I want to point out around all of this. One is that there's nothing intrinsic about mobile apps that makes ad fraud any more painful or difficult than in the web-to-web world. As a matter of fact, mobile apps actually, because of their embedded nature, because of the way the software ecosystems are sandboxed and work, actually make it easier to police fraud, to be able to ensure that there is good quality content, to make sure that you're getting what you want. And that ease is translated into how the technology itself can help police that. So the MMPs, again, those 5 that I've mentioned, have all put in tremendous work alongside platforms like Tune, the Tune Partner Marketing Platform, to be able to detect these mobile-oriented cases. Things like click stuffing, like, well, again, we see with the Baidu case, where apps ask for special permissions and use that to send in clicks blindly, hoping to get lucky on an attribution hit. Or click injection, where an app is attempting to see when other apps are installed and perform certain actions to try to sneak in a click before a conversion event happens. Same thing that we've seen with toolbars in the web world, but in a mobile-specific context. Fake conversions via bots trying to spoof what the measurement SDKs are doing. All of the major measurement platforms and Tune alongside them have worked extremely hard to detect these forms of fraud, to police it, and to reject it outright. And that's also in working with the platforms themselves. So close alignment with Apple and Google to be able to make this ecosystem as clean as possible. So of course, I'm not saying that this is a one battle. It's always going to be an ongoing thing. But the nature of the technology and the nature of how effective this technology is at driving growth is what drives the black hat folks to target it. But it's also, it gives the white hat folks and sheriffs of the world to be able to police the frontier, to make this work really well and to be able to make this effective.
So what can you do to start taking advantage of this? If you buy into our argument, how do you begin to get started with making shifts to your mobile ecosystem?
So for those of you who are familiar with the movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the analogy I like to liken this to is it's like the hidden bridge just at the end when he's just about to walk into the center chamber where the Grail is. The thing, of course, is this is all in plain sight. I've already mentioned the MMPs a number of times. The technology that you need to be able to promote effectively on mobile, and that's across both mobile web and mobile apps, is likely already present in your organization. Because at some point in the last few years, any mobile app that is worth promoting likely has had an MMP integrated within it. One of those 5 players that I mentioned previously. And in the process of doing that, That's really the technology you need to be able to work effectively in there and to tie into these great partners that are going to drive you untapped growth that you can get really efficiently and drive high conversion traffic for your partner program. So the solution is in plain sight. If you're like Indy Jones, take that step out and you'll find that that chasm is actually a bridge that's going to lead you to somewhere incredible. So the way in which we can tee this up a little bit is to talk about how the traditional web works and to juxtapose that with how the mobile space works, how it works differently, and how it potentially works better in a way that you can tap into today. So this flow that we're looking at here on this slide should look very familiar. This is kind of the traditional cookie-based world where, right, user browses to some content, they click a tracking link, an affiliate link that redirects them to a tracking partner like Tune and its partner marketing platform. We redirect you to your property as the marketer, as the advertiser. User goes ahead and does the thing that you want them to do. So they sign up or they make a purchase or they do whatever it is you want. We set the cookie when they got sent to your property in the first place. Then when they do the event that you want them to do, it triggers a conversion pixel. The cookie comes along for the ride. It comes to us. We connect the dots using the cookie, and then we send a note to the partner, either a webhook or just by paying them to let them know that they have successfully driven a conversion. So this flow, for those of you who have done partner marketing on web for any length of time, should look really familiar because this is how this has worked for the last almost 25 years, basically since there was a web and there was a cookie to go at. So now when we're talking about mobile, how is mobile different from that very well understood, from that very comfortable flow? And it really breaks into three categories: tracking, routing, and partners. Those are the three things that are different for mobile from an all desktop web world. And fortunately, again, all three of those things are very well understood at this point, are very effective. You just need to be able to tie into the differences. So what we're looking at right now is the tracking component, how tracking is different for a mobile-oriented partner marketing program versus one that's just doing desktop web. Now, what adds the extra steps into it is that mobile gives you more options. Mobile apps convert extremely well. They really hit the notes extremely well. But if you are a mobile marketer and if you're running a partner marketing program, you don't necessarily want people to fumble trying to get the app installed if they don't have it already. You want to put them on your mobile web experience so you can get them to buy or to book or to sign up now. You'll worry later on about turning them into a high lifetime value customer by getting the app installed. So you have a decision point that's in place about which experience you want to send them to. Do I want to send them to the app or do I want to send them to the mobile web? And the highest conversion option by far is to send them to the mobile app if they have it installed, or to send them to the mobile web if they don't. Then you're getting the best of both worlds, and you tie into the reason why mobile is so much better performing than desktop web in most partner marketing circumstances. The other thing that you have to take into account is there's the app store itself. So you've got the platform, you've got the app store, the actual ecosystem makes linking require a couple of extra steps. So the way this flow looks is as is diagrammed here. A user, I'm clicking around on my phone and I am on content. So, I'm on an app or I'm on, this mobile website on mobile Safari or mobile Chrome. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to click a tracking link. And that tracking link is going to redirect me to Tune, where, we'll track the fact that it's happening as part of tracking your partnership. And then it's going to redirect to that measurement partner. So the mobile measurement partner is going to get that redirect, and they're the ones who are now going to see that click, know that there are dots to be connected around that click, and then help make a destination decision about where this user should go. Where is the highest performing place where this user can be sent so that they will be most likely to convert in a way that's mobile specific and mobile effective. Then that destination decision happens. Then based off of where they get sent, the tracking mechanisms kick into place. Let's say it gets sent directly to a mobile app. At that point then, an SDK embedded in the app is going to see the user arrive. They're going to send a notification to the mobile measurement partner that says, hey, this user opened up the app and they just made this purchase. The MMP is then going to connect that to the click that they received to determine the attribution. They send us a post back, which is a term that we coined about the MMP notifying the network, notifying the partner program that a conversion has happened on the mobile space. And then the network or the partner program, ideally powered by Tune, sees that conversion, notifies you, handles all the partner payouts, exchanges all the data, and gets everything set to go. I realize there are additional steps in here, but it's also amongst those steps more effective. It really does make this whole flow convert better to just on the desktop web because it uses the intrinsic benefits of the mobile space. So something I want to hammer home, and it's on an SAT level. For those of you who are getting kind of nasty acid flashbacks to taking your SATs, but the indisputable fact is forget about cookies on mobile. Cookies are not a viable proposition on mobile. Mobile apps do not deal with cookies, and mobile browsers, increasingly with Apple's intelligent tracking prevention and with Chrome's own constraints, are also persona non grata increasingly. But that's okay. So the SAT analogy I want to drill into everybody here is cookies are to traditional web like SDKs and advertising identifiers are to mobile. So the things that you use a cookie to do on traditional web, which is to connect the dots, are done just as well on mobile through these measurement partner SDKs and platform level advertising identifiers. And just to be specific about what a platform advertising identifier is, Google and Apple both assign what is known as an advertising identifier to any phone user, and those advertising identifiers are available within apps to help these SDKs connect the dots. So traditional web, you're used to the cookies. In the mobile world, it's these MMP SDKs and these advertising identifiers. And again, I want to reiterate, it's okay, because most likely, if you have any sort of mobile app presence at all, someone on your mobile team has put one of these SDKs in your app when it was built or at some point in the last 5 years. So you're ready to get right out of the gate with it. So I already hit on the routing part a little bit, but I do want to drill in deeper about this. So again, the thing we're going to keep drilling in home is that mobile is a unique channel that drives uniquely good, high converting experiences because of the nature of its ecosystem, because of the way we relate to the phone, because of the way it's in context to us, and also all of the powerful experiences that iOS and Android provide to us as a platform. And one of the reasons why those experiences are powerful is universal linking and deep linking. So again, mobile apps, as we know, they perform better. They just convert better. They get people to buy better. As Bob touched on at the beginning of the call, they make purchasing so easy. You tap the button, it's done. Your credit card information is in, one touch, purchase happens, you're good to go, and it's super slick and it's super easy. And the platforms now make available universal linking, where if I tap a link, it'll instantly know if the user already has the app installed or not, where to send them if the app is already installed, and where to send them if the app isn't installed in terms of the mobile web experience. Again, the MMPs all tie into this to make sure that attribution works around that and that the deep linking works effectively in sending you to the right spot in the app or the mobile web experience based off the link that you clicked. But it's all there, it's all set up, and again, it's all leaning on work that's most likely in your organization, if you're a partner marketer, already been done for you by someone else a few years ago that you can use today. And then finally, it's partners. So of course, we're in the partner marketing space. So the thing that you're going to obviously wonder about is how are mobile partners different from the partners that you're used to working with on web? So in some ways they are different, in some ways they're not. So some of those names in the center, like Ebates, for example, and HuffPost, obviously are going to look very familiar to you if you're a web-based partner marketer, because They're also great mobile publishers. You know, Ebates and the way in which Ebates is used gets used a lot on mobile in their mobile app, in addition to their web experience. And a lot of the great web publishers are also great mobile publishers. You know, publishers like Reddit, for example, which is a really untapped resource, makes for great partnerships for driving performance. So, you know, there are a lot of publishers that are doing great things that you're familiar with web that work just as well on mobile. The other thing, of course, is there are some really strong mobile networks. So, you know, one of the constraints around mobile app traffic is to be a great publisher in that space, it sometimes requires a little bit more technology. It is important to note a normal web link works well on mobile, and they even work within mobile apps. So the links that you're used to exchanging, those friendly HTTPS links that, you know, the tracking links everyone's been dealing with in the last 20 years, still work. And they work well, when integrated within publisher content. So, you know, if you want to continue to use that, great. But there are also mobile networks that are out there that have been getting their SDKs and been working with developers to get special native publisher experiences baked into the different kinds of content that people use. And also just great networks that have done a terrific job at aggregating mobile supply in a way that you can tap into on a performance basis really easily. So we're talking about mobile networks like Button, AppLift, Tapjoy, Fiber, Liftoff, AdColony, AdAction, a whole set of different networks that you can tie into easily that have pulled together different publisher sources and have done so in a very transparent, invisible way, sometimes using technology like Tunes to be able to plug into their partner network, or their partner program, which may also be running on Tune. To be able to work effectively and to be able to get scale in this really effective publisher source. And again, the attribution providers themselves, and I mentioned AppsFlyer, Branch, Singular, Adjust, Kochava, and also Oplytic, who's coming in as a kind of partner-oriented mobile measurement provider, are all here to provide the tech basis to get rolling.
Yeah, and just one thing to add to that, Dan, tying to something you said earlier, I think one of the complications for companies in managing a lot of their partner programs is that you might have some of these partners in the middle who are in the web channel and dealing with one part of the team in one place, or the desktop channel, and the mobile place in the other. And I think the vision is under the partner marketing umbrella, a lot of this would start to come together just in terms of how it's organized in the company with the people, so you don't have different people or different groups dealing with the same partners just based on whatever platform they're acting on.
Right. I mean, that's exactly right, Bob. I mean, in striding across both worlds, we see that all the time where, you know, there are two different, you know, parts of the organization, partner marketers and the mobile folks who are working with the same people in the same way. They're not speaking the same language. And you really should come together because you're going to see economy of scale in pulling that all together. Where, you know, by managing it together and managing these relationships together, you will both do a better job together. And the technology and all of that background is already there for you to be able to manage all of that. And again, working with great companies like Acceleration Partners as well can also help you get growth both within the KPIs of your mobile team and within what the partner team has traditionally been looking for.
Great. So hopefully you can see that I think really the best is yet to come for mobile and partner marketing. And you know, even though it's been a smaller piece of the experience in the ecosystem to date, it's moving from being kind of a hinder to, I think, powering a lot of the industry and probably the future of a lot of e-commerce. Many of the hurdles have been overcome. Many of them are being solved right now. Rather than closed ecosystems, I think we have a lot more healthy marketplaces, as you can see in Dan's chart, where people can pick the pieces that they like and the vendors that are giving them the best performance and put together a solution. And, you know, a healthy competitive market in the technology space certainly usually increases innovation. I think we're rapidly approaching that, you know, 50% is going to mobile. And then another area that's driving this, and you're seeing this, you know, with a lot of the companies in the ecosystem, but a real focus on making mobile and partner management easier to use for influencers. I think brands are really, I remember at a dinner we did for a bunch of brands last year, we asked people kind of, what's the thing you're most excited about for the next year, and what's the thing you want your money back from last year? And they both said, influencers. So I think the sense is people like influencers. They'd like to change their relationship with how they pay them. Getting them into the performance marketing ecosystem, making it easier for them to get links, sign up, click. I see everyone really, even from Instagram on down, really kind of trying to make it easier and to tie the intent to purchase. So, how do you take action with data? There are a few things here. First of all, you have this data, so you need to look into your installs and make sure that you're getting quality from your partners. One of the biggest things I always stress is don't, in this space in partner marketing, paint with broad strokes. Segment, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Don't generalize. And, you might have one partner that's driving low quality or fraudulent traffic and another that's doing great, but someone might say, oh, the affiliate program is doing X. So dig in. Even within partners, there can be activities that they're doing that are valuable or not valuable. So obviously it starts on the acquisition side. Focus on the ones that help drive the most subscriptions and loyalty. Installs are great, but you're really looking for folks that can move people through to conversion and towards your revenue model. And is what our teams do a lot of cohort analysis, things that came in from that partner, from that month, from that channel, over time, how do those age out and how do those perform? And that tells you which partners to go to and which campaigns to double down on and which ones maybe that you should pull back from. And then what to look for in mobile app partnerships. Proper tracking, definitely a first. I think everyone really wants to be able to use more segmentation and personalization. We've mentioned fraud management several times. It's an opportunity, but there's also a lot of solutions, or it's a potential problem, I guess. But there's an opportunity to really solve that. There are a lot of third-party tools that are coming out, and you're looking again for partners who are driving better conversion. Paying for installs is great as long as that leads to conversion. There's lots of business models lots of apps out there that have paid a lot of money to conversion that have no activation and then basically have to pay all that money again to reactivate. So you want to look at that carefully and make sure that you don't have partners that are just getting rich on install. Look for increased average order value, who's helping you give that lift, and then a higher lifetime value of customers. With all this data, you should be able to build a cohort analysis. You should be able to build a long-term value model and go to your partners and be very explicit about what certain activities are worth it to you and which ones, frankly, aren't. So in terms of mobile partner marketing dues, integrate your mobile across your marketing channels. This is both technologically and team structure, as we just talked about. This is a fast-moving market, so ensure positive and fast user experiences on all devices. Test the flows out, use them, see if it makes sense as a user. One of the dangers that's happened in programmatic over the last couple of years is kind of no one being able to vouch for what ads are running, what they're doing, where they're running. It's great to get some human eyes on that. Develop mobile-specific creatives and promotions. I know there's a lot of times people are trying to reuse everything to the common denominator, but you're looking at different screen sizes, different call to action. You want to have a fraud check process in place. And you really do want to target users by device, OS, and behavior pattern. You can get great segmentation information, again, just from that phone itself. It tells you a lot about who that person is. Same thing, difference between someone who's using an AOL address and a Gmail address. And then ensure the links for iOS and Android work. Test this stuff out. There's a lot of complexities. There's a lot of partners. It's worth spending a couple hours on the phone and testing the user flows out for yourself and make sure they work as intended. And then don'ts. Think about a mobile strategy only. Consider how this fits with your overall goals and your omni-channel strategy. Really, the more integration you have, the better. I mean, you might be paying a lot more for one type of partner in one area or one platform that actually doesn't produce a higher ROI. Don't forgo tracking and attribution. Both are important. First, you got to make sure it's all tracked, and then you got to figure out how you're going to attribute, and then you got to figure out how, once you know what your company's attribution model is, how do you assign value to that attribution and communicate it back to your partner. Don't track performance separately across mobile and desktop. This is getting close, but we were at a conference years ago, and this reminded me of first when the mobile web came out, and then this was still going on last year, where they're like, yeah, we don't think our mobile tracking is working, but like, it's hard for me to get my team to want to set this up and pay for something that we're getting for free now, because they were sending the mobile web, it was generating an app download experience, and there wasn't a continuous tracking. And publishers are smart, and they test this stuff, and now they'll say, look, we test all this stuff and it doesn't work, we don't work with you. So when you take the short-sighted approach, you usually get a short-sighted outcome. Again, don't forget to compensate affiliates. There's a lot of focus on commission cutting or saying this isn't valuable, but let's remember to communicate what we want and where we want to pay more, and really focus on aligning compensation to what we're looking for. All right, we're going to run a quick poll quiz. It should pop up on your screen right now, and then we will be able to show all of the results in a few seconds. Give everyone just a quick sense of where they are on the call, so you can get a sense of who's on here with you. And I guess it's making me fill it out too before I can see the answers. So let's fill it out here. All right, once you fill that out, we will pop it up as we start our Q&A. Got about 10 minutes for Q&A, and we'll let me go through our queue, and then Dan, maybe I'll start by throwing a few over to you. So this one, I had a strong feeling we would see, and you are probably in a much better position to answer this. But how will Instagram's push to have users purchase in their app instead of leaving to finish purchase in the brand's app affect mobile partnership performance?
So that's a great question. Right, Instagram just rolled out their own kind of embedded shopping experience. So for those of you who don't have context for this, where if I see a product on Instagram, let's say that it's an Anthropologie sweater that I could actually tap through right within the Instagram app experience, shop for that sweater within Instagram on Anthropologie, buy and pay without ever leaving the Instagram experience. So it's all just baked right into Instagram without ever, pushing out to the own site or anything like that. And, my perspective on it is it's just, it's being a publisher. That's what Instagram is doing. If you think about what Facebook is and what Instagram is, they're big honking publishers. They're partners, mega publishers and mega partners, no different fundamentally from an eBay. It's just maybe another 10x or 100x larger. And this is basically just another manifestation of that. So, Google and Facebook are going nowhere. Or I should say, they're not going away in terms of where they fit as part of a good marketing mix for mobile partnerships. I think one thing that is worth thinking about is that Google and Facebook tend to operate more on a performance basis in the mobile world than I think folks are used to traditionally dealing with in the web world. They both have CPI campaigns, for example, where they actually get paid on install commission, install attribution, and this would be another example of that, Instagram's own kind of live purchase part. So, the way to think about it is to think about Instagram as a partner, and to think of them as a partner to manage and a partner marketing portfolio, the same way that you would think about a Retail Me Not or an Ibotta or an Ebates or one of your content partners. They happen to be massive and have tremendous scale and a self-serve way of buying, but they're our partner, and they work on a performance basis, and they work on a performance basis in mobile. So I actually don't think it affects mobile partner performance. I think the way to think about it is they're just another partner that's out there that you can work with on mobile that happens to be gigantic and able to be worked with in a very large scale and tracked in a very similar way.
Okay, great. This next question, more than most of these are technical, so I'm going to lean on you. But this one, I could give the more philosophical answer, and you could probably give the more technical. How can we grow relationships with our ad networks by working with them through affiliate platforms like CJ Impact, etc.? So my take on this one's a little tricky. I think the SaaS platforms and such as Tune, Impact, Partnerize, otherwise a little more open, to hey, you're licensing the technology and you can plug in stuff. And there's some lines though across traditional networks between things they see as publisher sources or see they as other networks, and I think they have different stances on how comfortable they are integrating those, and I think those are evolving stances. That's my best answer on it. And Dan, I don't know if you have any other color on that or more of a technical answer in terms of how those integrations would work or sort of extending reach.
Right. So, right. There are the traditional affiliate networks that are out there, and, you've got CJ, you've got Awin, Rakuten, Impact, et cetera. And, when you're growing relationships with those ad networks, I mean, the way to look at it, right, is just what are your sources that you want to work with and through. So again, on mobile, the kinds of sources that you work with might be different because there's different kinds of contents and different kinds of developers. You just need to be able to track them. You need to be able to work with them. You need to be able to manage those partnerships. So, if CJ has good mobile sources, then great. But you might have to diversify the kinds of affiliate networks you're working with, because I know a lot of the traditional networks, have been more web oriented and maybe don't have as much of the good mobile supply that some of these mobile networks like the app lifts and the buttons and the tap joys that you mentioned have. So you might need to build a portfolio out of many of them. And whenever you're building a portfolio like that, you need the technology to be able to bind them together. And that's, again, where the MMPs and where the Tune partner platform come in, because working together, those two technologies can help you manage all of those different sources, get what you want out of them, see your numbers in one spot, work with the actual tracking, connecting the dot parts, and feel like you're confident in it.
All right, this should be an easy one. Can you only have one MMP at a time?
So you can, in theory, have multiple MMPs. So there's nothing stopping somebody from signing with multiple MMPs. So they have, say, Oplytics and Branch and AppsFlyer all on their app together. There's not a whole lot of reason to do that. Really, each of the MMPs, are really a full-stop shop when it comes to connecting the dots and doing the routing in the mobile world. So, yeah, in hypothetically, you could have more than one MMP, but there, at least from my perspective, there's not a lot of reason to have more than one MMP. Whichever one you have baked in your app through the SDK should cover you when it comes to the tracking and routing you need to work well on mobile.
And I guess a follow-up to that, similar, but why are MMPs important in this ecosystem? Don't the mobile networks handle attribution and measurement?
Well, because the point is you're probably working with more than just the sources in the mobile networks. So one of the reasons why the MMP industry got started, one of the missions that the Tune MMP product solved was being able to work across many different networks, because it requires an SDK to do the attribution and the dot collecting. So if you're working with 12 mobile networks and you're relying on the mobile networks to do the attribution, that means that there are going to be 12 SDKs that you now need to put in your app to measure across all of them, not to mention 12 dashboards that you're going to be looking at to manage all of that spend and manage the performance of the networks. And that's just untenable. If any of you have worked with your mobile product teams, have learned getting SDKs in is a real pain. Maintaining them is a real pain. So it's much better to have one SDK that's handling it for all of those mobile networks and putting a dashboard together for all those mobile networks. And that's where the Tune plus MMP combo comes into play.
And my understanding too, like in the cookie world, you could throw a bunch of pixels on the website. People are used to it, but you can't put that many SDKs into an app and without it affecting its performance, right?
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly right.
Okay. All right. So we got a couple more here. This is okay. Say I work with Fiber and Aplift at the same time. Would they cannibalize each other?
So, right, if I'm working with multiple networks, one concern is, are they going to bid against each other for their sources? And, again, you got to vet your mobile networks just like you would vet any direct partner that owns their content. You do need to work with them to make sure that they aren't overlapping or they're not going to be bidding against each other. But that said, there are specialists and there are different networks that focus in different areas and provide different kinds of content. So, for example, in AppLovin is very focused on game-based content. So, they have their SDK, their publisher SDK, in many different games that are out there. So if you feel like that vector is one that's going to be very effective for you in terms of driving growth, then that would cover that part of your portfolio. And each one of these mobile networks has their specialty. You have to vet them the same way you would vet any partner. But again, they've been in the space for a long time. They're working at it hard. So I would work with them and kind of lean on them to kind of justify why their traffic is unique and to fold them in a portfolio just like that.
Okay, great. This is a good question, and I have my take on it. I'm curious as to yours. It says, install only is pretty much dead. Clients only want end of the funnel conversion. Networks say they work on performance, but in the end, they either need a hybrid install plus sales or ask for budget to start any campaign. Do you have clear experiences that the networks are really ready to switch to pure performance? So it's a good, yeah, it's a good question. Generalization. Look, to me, this comes back to basic like econ 101. It's supply and demand, right? So as long as there are willing buyers of install only, or people can hold, well, they want to hold the line on that, and they can afford to do it, then then they'll do that. But to the extent that there are no, and we've seen this in other areas of the industry, and you're seeing this kind of with the collapse in display ads for a lot of media companies, which is why they're coming into the performance space now because they want these budgets. Yeah, I mean, everyone wants to be guaranteed money. We all love and prefer the performance model, but if someone can be guaranteed money, they'd prefer that in a lot of cases over risk. So I don't think it's dead because we still see people paying for that and clearly driving the market for that. If there was no demand for it, then the supply would have to change. So I think eventually everything does move, in that direction as you get measurement. But yeah, we see a lot of the large performance players, huge slotting fees, huge getting started fees, and I think it's just a question of market power and if it's worth it, and if people do it once and come back or they don't.
Right, and that's exactly right. There's always this negotiation happening between the supply and demand side of the industries. To address the install only part of this specifically, so right, the just paying for installs part of the world has definitely dropped off significantly in the last few years because, right, with a few exceptions, the install is not the end of the story. The install is not where the money is. It's the in-app conversion and the lifetime value associated with the user who does install. That's the important part. And so increasingly, the networks that did focus on driving installs have made that transition from being CPI networks or cost per install networks to CPA networks, cost per action networks. For example, a lot of the larger spenders in the mobile area, the ride share companies and things like that, they don't pay for installs. They pay on the first ride or when a driver activates. These tracking systems and the Tune Partner Program that both the advertisers and networks are running on can do multiple goals. So, they may track how many installs they're getting, but they don't pay until that first ride happens or that sign up happens or the actual conversion point that's meaningful from a business perspective happens. Obviously, networks, they like getting paid, and the more upfront they can get paid, the better. It's less risky. That's one of the reasons why it's so appealing from an advertiser perspective to spend on performance, because you're paying on contingency. You only pay for what you really get. But as Bob mentioned, it's all about leverage. You want to make sure you've got the right leverage with your relationships, and as long as you're getting what you're paying for and they're getting paid for delivering quality product, everyone is happy, and that's the way it should be.
Okay, great. That was a good one. So I think we will wrap it up there. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. You'll get a follow-up email with info on the recording when it's ready and where you can download it. You have our email here. I know there are a few more questions I think that are more specific to someone's individual situation. So I'm going to leave, I'm sure Dan and I would be happy to, mostly Dan, answer them about technical questions that you have. But thanks for joining us. You can see 2 links here also on our site: Tune's Ultimate Guide to Partner Marketing and AP's abridged version of performance partnerships. Those are free resources for you. And we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar.